to episode 2 of Gaming with Girlfriend. Tonight, we plan on talking about early frustrations and difficulties from the partner's perspective. I am John Skoda, and with me as always is...
Callie Flanders.
So we talked on episode 1 about who we are, our experiences gaming in our past, our childhoods, why we are talking about why we are talking about gaming, and gaming with our partners a little bit. We talked about what games we were playing. We talked about what games sort of got you into it. We talked a bit about Skyrim, and we started to talk a little bit about frustrations that the non-gamer partner has, especially early on, and how you sort of, and like I said in show 1, I don't want to say got over it, so we're going to start saying adapted to. And so how that evolved into something that was positive for our relationship instead of negative. Excuse me. The first thing that I wanted to do, though, was talk a little bit about the show title. And we talked about this when we were thinking of a title for the show. We settled on Gaming with Girlfriend because in my experience, I am gaming with my girlfriend. Although the show should be gender inclusive. So whenever we say, gaming with your girlfriend, gaming with your partner, it always should be gaming with your partner. The show title is just there because that was our particular situation, and I'm a sucker for alliteration, so there you have it. So, like I mentioned, on episode 1, we talked about what games we were playing, what games got Callie into gaming, and we very briefly touched on how you were frustrated at the early stages, and still get frustrated sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You don't identify as a gamer, do you?
No.
Okay, because we've had that discussion in the past, off-stream, off-show, where we've been talking about, do you feel like a gamer? Or the first time that I commented that you had game sense, you didn't really talk about that a lot. So you mentioned in episode 1 that was something that that I love and that you wouldn't want to take away from me, but that it still did frustrate you. So that's what we're talking about today. So what frustrated you about it? We'll start there.
About you gaming?
Yeah.
I think my lack of knowledge about it, for one. For two, I think, at least when we first started dating, we were both in college.
Mm-hmm.
And then anytime that I would hang out with anyone who identifies as male, really, they'd be playing video games in their dorm room.
I mean, how else do you spend time in college when you're not boozing it up?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what the boys would do. And so I spent a lot of time watching boys play like FIFA or NBA 2K or whatever that game is called.
Yep. Yeah. So the 2K is 2000, so it'd be like 2K18.
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time watching that. My brother, of course, played video games like Call of Duty and FIFA a lot.
Sports and shooters, huh?
Yeah, and honestly, I think the sounds of them are really annoying. Like today, I was trying to take a nap on the couch in our living room, and John decided to start playing Halo.
The volume was literally on 1. It was as quiet as that TV could have made it.
I could hear it.
I know you could.
And eventually I did fall asleep, and it's my fault for sleeping on the couch, I guess. But
a little bit.
So yeah, I think just I don't know. I was just accustomed to boys playing video games in their dorm rooms, and it was all they would really do with their time, and I just did not see the appeal to it at all. I don't understand why that would be fun.
It's also not like a college boy would sit there and have an intellectual conversation to you about how that was beneficial to them until you met me.
Yeah. Yeah, and you definitely have a different perspective on gaming, and like your family is really into gaming, which I think is pretty cool. The fact that you guys have a whole room in your house just dedicated to board games is pretty awesome.
So, on that note, that is called the Gamatorium, and I think it's a private video, but I will look at it. I'll look at it in the future, and if it is available, that is on my dad's YouTube channel, where he takes a quick tour through the room that we call the Gamatorium. And yeah, we set that up to play board games in. Dad built a special level the atop the table in there. It was a felt top, so if you laid cards down, you could sort of get your finger down into the felt a little bit and pick up cards easier, that sort of thing. But yeah, frustrations.
Yeah, so I think just like early on, I didn't have really many good experiences with gaming, I guess. And then I met you, and you are an uber nerd and super into gaming.
Thank you for saying so. That's a massive compliment.
And so I think when we were in college, it didn't really affect me because I had other people that I could go and hang out with and do other things. But when you graduated and I would go to visit you on the weekends and you would be like, hey, I'm going to play this game, Heroes or whatever it was, for, hours, that would be kind of frustrating for me because I would be like, okay, what do I do with my time while you're doing that if we're not doing it together?
Sure.
So that was a big frustration of mine, and that still like pops up every now and again, I think.
Yeah.
But a lot of that was like my own needing to figure out like what hobbies I have.
And what you can do with that alone time.
Right.
I think alone time is something not even necessarily alone time, because when you're playing multiplayer games online, you're not alone, but it is something that you're doing that is a little bit more personal and a little bit more for you. So I already said something, so I will tell this story. Not sure that you'll be a huge fan of it, but when I was dating Hillary at college, before I met you even, she was over and my dad was playing Relic, which is a Warhammer 40k 2-hour long big board game. And for me, I was raid leading for my World of Warcraft guild at the time. And I wanted to play Relic, believe you me, but I went into the kitchen at my parents' house and set up to be a raid leader and to, do that thing that I had signed up to do. And she played Relic with my dad. So if you're in a gamer relationship, that sort of just happens on its own, and you can spend time like, oh, I'll play this game, you'll play that game. Mm-hmm. But when you're not, I'll play this game and you can triple dot.
dot.
Yeah. So that's sort of what frustrated you at the beginning. What frustrated you? What continues to frustrate you? Because you've gotten past a lot of that. You've sort of like, you have a lot of stuff that you do on your own now. Callie recently attended a 200-hour yoga teacher training in Aruba, which I am very proud of her for doing. Big step for you. Totally. Big step for us. I think that was the longest that we've spent apart in the 4 years we've been together.
Yeah.
Consecutively apart, because we've done, like, you were still in college when I finished, and so we would see each other every other weekend or so, but 23 days apart was the biggest stretch that we had. So step for you, step for us, gave you something that you can do. Oh, John's going to be on the Xbox for 2 hours with his friends. I'm going to go do yoga. You've got, yoga, journaling, reading, and these are stereotypically girly things to do.
I also discovered that I like to paint, and you bought me
Like to what?
Paint.
Paint. Okay.
You bought me all of my watercolor paints that I own right now. And so I feel like you kind of helped me foster
some brushes, some canvases,
and the paint. You bought the paint too.
Not all of it. You got some of it from that good deal, that big box that you got.
Yeah, but I still use the paint that you gave me. I don't really use that stuff.
Nice.
I'm running out, by the way. But yeah.
Well, with the holidays coming up,
right?
We'll see.
But you definitely kind of help. I feel like you were really supportive in when you're.
Bless you, Wesley.
Sorry, our cat is here. Okay, totally lost my train of thought there.
Helped you.
So you kind of helped me find what things I enjoy, because I feel like when you're in college, you're figuring out who you are. You're away from home for the first time. I didn't really find that when I was in high school, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're still growing up in high school. You're not even figuring out who you are. You're still just trying to figure out how to be a human being.
Yeah. My family dynamics were, a lot different, I think, than most people. I had a really little sister that I would babysit a lot, and I worked a lot on the weekends too. And I would spend my time with friends. But I just didn't have any hobbies really. So I think that was something that I needed to figure out for me of okay, what are my hobbies? What are my interests? How do I kind of go about finding that? And you've always been very supportive of that as well.
Definitely. Well, I didn't want you to have to sit there and watch me play games if you didn't want to. Because that's something that you don't have to do as much anymore. Especially now that lots of games don't have native split screen options. If you were watching Caleb, your brother, play Call of Duty, it was just you watching him. And if it was anything in the past 8 years, it hasn't had any split screen, so you couldn't have even played with him even if you wanted to, even if he wanted you to.
Yeah.
So I didn't want you to have to do that if you didn't want to. If you want to watch people play games, that's what Mixer is for. So you can do that. But if you don't want to, how can I help you feel like you have something productive to do while I'm doing something that I feel productive doing, without also feeling like I'm ignoring you or abandoning you, which I didn't want, and which I didn't want you to feel like I was. That creates a whole bunch of not good feelings for everybody. So just to backtrack and to get on track with our show notes, what were some of your first impressions? So also to help people who are just entering relationships. So if you are a non-gamer entering a relationship with a gamer, these might be questions that you have that we will try to answer. If you are a gamer entering a relationship with a non-gamer, please recommend the show, first of all. And these might be questions that your partner might have that you might not immediately realize or recognize, because I didn't at first. Obviously, I knew spending time gaming meant that I was spending time not with you. But I also didn't really think about the impact that had on you, because I was very concerned with the impact that had on me, because that was such an important part of my life, my self-care process, how I enjoy spending my time, right?
Yeah.
And time is literally the only thing that we have as human beings that has any value. Money is made up. It's not real. So deciding to spend your time not with family or loved ones, what is it that you're doing that is so important? And for me, that's gaming. So at the beginning, so for somebody entering a relationship with a gamer, or if you are a gamer entering a relationship with a non-gamer, What were some of your, excuse me, first impressions? So before we started dating, what did you think about my gaming habits? Because you mentioned after we recorded episode 1 that I wasn't actually rooming with my roommate at the time when we started dating. I was rooming with my roommate prior to that when we met, and that's when I was doing the gaming. So my roommate Justin and I played Destiny 1 on different consoles. I played on the 360 and he played on PS3. But you were often in our room, in our suite, hanging out. We knew each other at the time a little bit in passing. And so at that point in time, what did you think of gaming and what did you think of me? And I think you answered a little bit of that in that, college boys gamed.
Yeah.
But do you have anything else that you want to add to that? Or we can move on.
I don't know. I don't know that I thought too much of it other than like it would be like maybe a Saturday night and I would be in your suite and you and Justin would be in your room playing games, and I don't know, I guess I thought that was lame.
Instead of playing Pong with you in the suite.
Right, which I hate that game.
Right? Pong is lame. Destiny 1 was super great.
Yeah, and I spent like a lot of time hanging out in other boys' rooms and stuff. Sorry, but I did.
It's okay. It was before we met.
Yeah, I don't know. They would play a lot of video games, but they also, I feel like, had like they would do that to pregame and then, everyone would go out to a party.
Sure.
So, yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but...
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, you already talked about sort of what you thought of gaming ahead of time. It was annoying. The sounds that you heard kept you awake when you tried to nap.
Yeah.
And you thought that I was lame. Okay.
Yeah.
So what about at the time that we started playing board games together? Because that was sort of a jump into gaming that wasn't video games exclusively. So we played Mysterium at school. I can't remember if that was before or after we started dating, because we played that.
I think it was like around the time that we started dating.
Okay.
We were hanging out.
We played that with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
After we started dating, I got you to play Death Angel with me at school. And Death Angel is a very difficult card-based tabletop game set in the Warhammer 40k universe, where it's all, Space Marines and aliens and that sort of thing. And it's sort of a light version of Space Hulk. And a Space Hulk in that universe is a large, pretty massive, abandoned or derelict spaceship. And so you would go into this spaceship and try to accomplish a goal while you were being assailed by aliens. And the aliens had a massive advantage, and I've won it 1 out of the 12 times that I've played it, so it's incredibly difficult. So, Death Angel, very fun, very hard, highly recommend. So in addition to that, we also played Ticket to Ride, Ascension, and Elder Sign on my phone. We talked a little bit about that in episode 1. And after a little while, you started playing Catan with your friends. So what did you think of board gaming as a foray into gaming?
I think it was really good for me. I feel like board games are more acceptable in our society, I guess. Like, if you're going to spend your time playing a game, like, but, by, like, older people, I guess, in a way, because board games have been around longer, and, like, technology and violent video games are destroying the world, and
Whoa, now.
I don't believe in that, but I think
it's not a belief. We have scientific
people,
evidence that demonstrates that video games do not cause lasting increases in aggression in children.
A lot of people hold that belief, and a lot of people grew up playing like Monopoly, or I don't know. I work with kids and I play Sorry and Trouble like 400 times a week.
No. So in the board game world, those are what we would call Ameritrash board games, and that is a legitimate term. It's not supposed to be there to be disparaging towards those games. But an Ameritrash board game is a game in which you rely significantly more on randomness and chance than you do skill and planning. And so something like Monopoly or Sorry, where you roll the dice or you flip a card and you just do what it says. Candyland, it's a game that a computer can play entirely on its own without any interesting decision making. So it's not supposed to be hateful. There's no hate there. Those are fine games to get you into board gaming. I played Clue a lot with my family. That was sort of the first board game that I got into a lot as a kid. And
I feel like I've never played that game all the way through.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you ever played Mystery of the Abbey with us? That's like Clue, but you're all monks in an abbey trying to find out which monk killed the person.
I don't think we have played that. But anyway, so we played Mysterium and other games. And I think I liked those. I feel like they are, like, you can get a lot of people to play them, whereas video games you can't. Really?
Yep, and that's a fault of the video game industry where, especially shooter and not party games because they've always been designed for multiplayer split screen, but shooter games, which were massively popular when I was growing up, after the Halo 3 eras, anything after 2010 or so, you're not gonna have local split screen options, which really sucks. And if you're following any news, Halo Infinite will have local split screen, so hooray for that. I don't know if Borderlands 3 has local split screen, which, if it doesn't, is a massive fault on their end. And all of that is money driven, because if you don't have local split screen, you need the 4 people who used to be able to play on one console and one copy of the game now need 4 consoles and 4 copies of the game. So
it's just a money-making industry.
It really is.
That's all you're saying.
And board games are, anywhere from 2 to 8 plus players, depending on the board game.
So those were fun.
Good.
And you would be very nice and, like, take the time to explain the game to me. And I feel like board game, I don't know. I don't know if this is going to make sense, what I'm going to say. But, like, there's not as much risk with some board games. Like, if you make a mistake, or, I don't know, it's easier to, like, go back and be like, oh, I didn't understand that. Can we, like, redo that?
Totally.
So I think that was a good, like, introduction to games. I do enjoy playing board games. I know a lot of people that enjoy playing board games, and, like, we have, like, our Red Flags game that we take to places if we're gonna play, like, know that we want to play with a lot of people, and everyone always loves that game. And
that one's a blast.
I don't know, like, games are just something, like, card games and board games are things that you can do with a lot of people, and have a really great time doing it. And, like, everyone has them usually, like, even if it is an Ameritrash game, like, everyone has something. A lot of people grew up with, like, family game nights or whatever, where everyone would play that type of thing. And then I started playing Catan with my friends, like, one of my last semesters at school. I graduated in December of 2017, so.
But you had a designated night.
We did.
Right,
we
every night it was Catan and wine.
It was like every Wednesday night or something. Yeah, we would play Catan and, like, get so into it. And I love that game so much. I have it in the back of my car, mostly for a group that I run at my work, but also because you never know when you're gonna need to play Catan, really.
Right.
John doesn't like that game.
It's okay.
He wasn't like, oh, you're playing that game when I first started playing it, but I love it.
So I shouldn't have been disparaging. I should have been happy and excited that you were playing any games. I am not a massive Catan fan because I am not a huge fan of gateway games. So gateway games, like you might imagine in the context of like gateway drugs.
Catan's a gateway drug.
Yeah, it's a gateway game. So it's a Euro game, which is sort of the opposite of Ameritrash, where you have interesting decision. There might be some randomness. So in Catan, you roll dice to determine what resources you get, but all of the decision making that you do is really what impacts whether or not you're successful at the game. And a lot of the time, those are what my dad and I would call crunchy, where if you are counting squares on the board and keeping track of your resources, you know sort of what % chance you have to get this, what % chance you have to get that, if you should build this road or if you should settle this city next turn. It's a lot of math that you do internally, but it is simple to learn in that something like Catan or Ticket to Ride I consider to be another gateway game. In that you are building a train track. At the beginning you get some cards that tell you have to go from here to there. And every turn you can either draw train tickets or set down trains. And you need so many train tickets of whatever color track to set it down. So it's random in what color trains you get, but do I wait next turn to build this 6 long track that would give me more points and that would help me get to my destination faster? Or do I buy this 2 track over here that I think you might get because I can see where you're trying to build? So that is another easy to learn, interesting decisions to make, some randomness. And I don't love gateway games because I identify as a gamer and I want something that is more complicated than that.
Right.
Which is not a bad thing.
But I don't.
But you
so
don't.
I love it.
So we can do those things together and both have fun. I think that's really the takeaway there. Excuse me. I have something in my throat tonight. So we moved in together after you graduated college, like you said, in the fall of 2019.
2017.
17. Yep. It's 2019 now. Excuse me. And that changed our dynamic a little bit.
A lot of it.
Yeah. Well, actually, so we lived a hall away from each other in college. And then in earlier that summer before you graduated, so summer of 2017, you lived with me at my parents' house, and I was the guy living in my parents' basement. And so all of my gaming at that point, my video gaming, because we played a lot of board games that summer, because you were around and my dad was around, and it was good. But all of my video gaming at that point took place in my room, which was the only space that we had that was both shared and for us. And there were times where you would hang out in the living room or whatever with my mom or my sisters, but more often than not, you were hanging out with me in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And I was playing... What was I playing? I was playing Destiny 1 still.
You were playing a lot of Heroes.
I was playing a lot of Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah.
I was quitting WoW around that time. Played some Chell here and there. What? I don't
remember what else you were playing.
So what did you?
That was tough. That was a tough time.
Yeah.
For a multitude of reasons, but yeah.
Just because that was the biggest change.
Yeah.
Right. So tell me what you thought about that.
It was hard. You did a really nice job of trying to make that room our shared space, but you also made a little cubby for yourself.
The nook.
The nook.
Oh, I miss the nook.
In your room.
Sometimes.
For just you gaming, and so I could watch TV or whatever. That was really tough because I didn't really have a lot of space. Now, I have a lady lair.
We have a 2-bedroom apartment, The first bedroom is ours, where we sleep.
Yep.
The second bedroom is entirely for Callie's stuff. I have the closet in there. The closet is mine.
Yeah, but like all of my art supplies are in there, all of my candle making stuff, all of my witchy stuff is in there. So I can kind of retreat in there because now John has like the living room.
I need the TV.
His like the coffee table is his basically.
You've got a little sliver over there.
I have a sliver. I have a mug and my laptop charger over there and my glasses.
Piece of paper and chocolate bar.
Yeah. So yeah, the living room is entirely John's for his gaming. So anyway, back to the summer, I don't know, there just wasn't like space for me to really go anywhere else unless I wanted to like go upstairs and hang out, with like the family and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like that was really hard. I hadn't lived with my parents for like 2 years or something before that, so like that in itself was like a challenge.
Right. We had been together for 2 years at that point.
Yeah.
So like you knew my family.
Oh yeah.
And
I love your family.
Still, different than being home.
Right. But like I had basically been on my own since I went to college, and then I needed a place to live, and
this guy.
Yeah. So that was great. But yeah, it was really challenging. I think that was it was a tough summer. I had made some really good friends where I was working, so I would hang out with them quite a bit.
But like when you were home, the things that frustrated you were not having your own space.
Yeah.
And listening or having me be there and not necessarily be hanging out with you.
Right.
And so when we moved in together on our own, we at least started in November of 2017. But you weren't living here full time until you graduated in December. Mm-hmm. So our dynamic changed, and like you mentioned, I was doing my gaming in the living room, which took up basically all of our living space. Mm-hmm. And so that was when you started gaming more with me, and that was when I got you the art supplies so that you would have something to do while I was gaming.
No, you got me the art supplies like the first Christmas we were together.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought, no, because I gave them to you here.
No. The watercolor paints I opened at your parents' house.
Okay.
I remember very vivid. That was the year I got you the Jon Snow replica sword.
Yep, that was at my parents' house.
I don't know what you got me.
You just
the first
said
Christmas here.
Oh, the first Christmas here?
Doesn't matter.
All right.
But yeah, so
you had some stuff that you could do on your own.
Yep.
I had some stuff that I could do. That was sort of where the adjustment really started to take place. Mm-hmm. And I think that was also, well, when we were at my folks' house, you played Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles with us, which is my all-time favorite video game, hands down. And is getting a re-release in January of 2020. So I'm super hyped for that. We're going to be playing more of that. But you played that with us, and you played Diablo when I got that for Christmas or birthday. And that was and might still be the longest stint that you've spent gaming at one time with me.
No way, we played Sea of Thieves for longer, I'm sure.
Really? Because that Diablo day was like 8 straight hours.
It was, and I was,
might have done 10
mad about it
with
after.
Sea of Thieves. You were. But you played Sea of Thieves for 8 hours too, and we're kind of okay with that.
Yeah, that one's okay.
You liked the game. The big frustration then was because the quest we were doing was bugged.
In Diablo?
We played Diablo here, yep. A little bit. We
played Borderlands.
You hit endgame in Diablo 3, and you sort of checked out of it, and you haven't wanted to play it since. We did start playing Borderlands together. You've started gaming with me, and we've already talked a little bit about how I got you into it. Persistence giving options for the different games that we could play. I proposed Borderlands 2 because I want you to play Halo with me. I really do. And I want you to feel comfortable playing a shooter game. So if I was going to get you into a shooter, the easiest, and those air quotes there, the easiest and least stressful for you would have been Borderlands. You had already been playing Sea of Thieves with me, and we've talked about that. If your ship gets sunk, you lose all of what you have, and it's likely that another player will steal it and take it. It's a pirate game. It's how it's supposed to work. It does a very, very good job of being a pirate game. But when stuff starts to go really badly, it can be really stressful, and especially now that we're playing in a crew of 2, you have a lot more responsibility when stuff does start to go bad. So Borderlands was if you die, you spend a little bit of money and you come back to life. It's kind of open world, so you can learn how to shoot and how to navigate new abilities at your own pace. It's light and has a very self-aware comedic style to it, which I think helped you. And so I started you with that. Destiny 2 is now free to play, and I think that we should play that next. That bridges the gap where dying hurts a little bit. It doesn't hurt more, but if you die at the wrong time, it can mess stuff up. So learning how to stay alive will matter more, and you'll have more buttons and things to keep track of. And then we'll play Halo after that, where you'll have a little bit less to keep track of, but dying matters a lot. So giving you options for games like Skyrim. I knew you liked Skyrim, so I suggested Dragon Age Origins because my brother Matt really liked Skyrim, and my sister Kristen didn't like Skyrim at all, but really liked Dragon Age. And they are similar in that they're both fantasy games that deal with dragons and fantasy classes. You're a warrior, or you're a rogue, or you're a wizard. And Skyrim is more about personal development and you getting through the story in that sort of first-person, fast-paced action world RPG. And Dragon Age is you're managing a party of people that you can set their abilities sort of ahead of time, and you only really have to play one really well, but you can play all of them if you like. And it's not as open world, so you're not going to get lost or mystified as much, and the quests are a little bit more straightforward, but it has a really compelling story, which was something you didn't like about Skyrim. You didn't like how that ended.
Yeah, I was very upset.
And so, like, Dragon Age ends in a very satisfying way. And
I don't think I played that all the way through.
You didn't. You played like 10 minutes of it, but you should play it all the way through. That would be a good one for us to stream together sometime. Can't play it together, but I would watch you play that in a heartbeat. That's okay. What else? What other games did I suggest that you play? I've asked you to play more games that we haven't played. I've asked you to play Halo.
Yeah, and you've asked me to play Destiny, and we'll see when those happen.
You played NHL with me a little bit.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
Yep. I mean, you had grown, so like you had said, you'd grown up playing FIFA, or well...
I never played that.
Listening to people watching?
Watched people play that.
Okay.
Mostly my brother.
And so... proposing a variety of different games that you might enjoy, letting you watch those things. I handed you the controller a few times when I had to run to the bathroom. So if I was out patrolling in Destiny or something, I'd be like, hey, here you go. It doesn't matter if you die. Just shoot whatever you see. Did I hand you the controller in other games? I did a little bit early on in Sea of Thieves, where I was like, hey, just make sure I don't hit rocks. I have to go pee. I don't know that I did that in other games, though. just trying to get you any little bit that I could. So whether that was handing you the controller for 2 minutes or talking about other games where if you're watching something that I'm playing and it's like, oh, I don't really like that. Oh, well, what about this? Because it's pretty similar. And we can talk more about my side of things on the next episode, the next like talk show episode, where how did I decide what games to propose that you should play? How did I sort of sneak that stuff in, that sort of stuff? So as we are coming up on the end of the show, what advice would you give to a non-gamer partner whose partner is I wrote dedicated to gaming in the show notes, but that sounds really serious. But I think I am. I'm dedicated to gaming. I have some mobile games that I play every day.
I think a lot of people are. Like, I think they're, at least in what I see on social media, with like other couples, is that their boyfriend, and a heterosexual couple, is that their boyfriends are gamers, and the partner is not. So what advice would I have to game with them, or to be okay with it?
So what advice would you give to a non-gamer partner to help them adjust or to start to think about engaging with their partner's hobby with them, instead of having that be something that's sort of against them in the relationship?
Well, I would hope that your gamer partner is like wanting you to play games, or like patient with you.
At least open to the idea, right? You don't want somebody who's like, no, I'm gonna play my game, and even if you were better than me at it, I wouldn't play with you. Right? That's an attitude thing.
But a lot of people play like Fortnite or like Call of Duty.
So
and I don't know that
we aren't going to, because I don't like it, but we could play Fortnite together. Actually, I don't know that that's true. I don't know if Fortnite is cross-platform. I'm not going to look it up because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because we're not going to play it. But so I would advise you to find a game that you could play together if you're open to doing that. If you don't have any interest in gaming with your partner, then I don't know, talk to your partner about why they play games. Like, John is very clearly passionate about gaming, or we wouldn't be doing this.
Right. We wouldn't have a show where we talk about it.
And like, it's a huge part of his self-care, which I don't know. I don't know, like, at what point you explained that to me, or that, like, clicked in my head.
That was at school when I was doing... Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but that was at school when you... when I was doing research on... there was a mobile game, and I was doing research on the relationship between playing that mobile game and reducing anxiety. And so when we had first met, some of our earliest conversations were, hey, we're both studying psychology. That's cool. What about it interests you? And you would say your bit, and you would ask, what about that interests me? And I would talk about games.
Yeah, so that's a big part of your self-care. And because I work in the mental health field, I'm not going to crap on someone's self-care. Like, we emphasize the importance of self-care and having something that you like to do, because the world is dark and full of terrors. So, you know, you need something that makes you happy and brings you some type of light into the world. And so I needed to figure out what that was for me. And so if you're having a hard time accepting your partner with their gaming, like, you know, I would just communicate about it with them. Like, what about it bothers you? How can they help you understand? Or maybe they can make some type of change that makes it, but I don't know, that would make it better for you. I feel like it's a case by case situation, but like, John made his little nook in his room so that he had like a gaming corner, and I could like watch TV still and like have a space that was a little bit away from that.
So something of your own.
Yeah. So if that's something that you're struggling with, like how can you kind of find space to help that, with your partner? And, like maybe you need to check in with yourself and figure out like why are you having such a hard time with it? What is your relationship with gaming? And like, do you have any hobbies of your own that you like to do, and can you do that more? Or like, I don't know, John and I we talked about it in the first episode, but like in the summertime, this winter time will be tough because I don't like to go outside in the winter. But
which means we're going to be playing more games.
Maybe. I did get a bunch of new winter gear, so maybe we'll be outside a bit, but I don't like to be outside in the cold. But in the summertime, it's like, I try to have one day that John can like do his thing, and the next day we do something together.
Yeah.
Whether that's a game or like going for a hike or something.
So the takeaways are communication, compromise, and for the gamer partner to put in some effort in making sure that the non-gamer partner has something that they like to do that they can spend their time doing, or they feel included in the gaming activity.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that's going to do it for episode 2. On episode 3, we might talk about my perspective, so the games that I recommended, how as the gamer partner you can find games that might be a good fit for a non-gamer partner. We could talk about what games you could play together. I think that's probably what most people look for when they're looking for gaming with girlfriend. What games can we even play together? I have an Xbox One, a PS4, and a old gaming laptop. So whenever we play games together, they either need to be split screen on one of those platforms, or they need to be cross-platform. And that's something that's relatively new. So we can talk about how we find games and how we, actually logistically manage to play those things together. But the big takeaway for gamers in relationships with non-gamers is communicate about it, be compassionate and adaptable, try to give them the space that you would want to do your own hobby, and try to compromise on what you spend your time doing together.
Totally. I would say the biggest thing with any relationship is communication.
Definitely. So that's going to be it for episode 2. If you've tuned in on the live show, thanks a whole bunch. If you are watching after the fact on YouTube or listening after the fact on podcasts, because we are now verified through Apple Podcasts and Gaming with Girlfriend is available through iTunes, please drop us a comment or a like, or however you show that you enjoy what we're doing.
Please leave us a 5-star rating and review.
You don't have to do that. I don't know how that helps necessarily, but I'm sure it wouldn't hurt.
It gets you on the charts.
All right, well then yes, please do that. As always, if you want updates about the show when we're going live, what we're talking about, the best way to do that is to follow us on Twitter. I am at JamScoda5.
I'm at Callie_Flanders.
And that's Callie.
Yeah.
You can also follow the Mixer stream, which is mixer.com/JamScoda5. Alternatively, you can wait for episodes to be available on YouTube, or you can go and find us on Apple Podcasts. I will go ahead and speak for both of us now and say thank you and good night.
Night.